So this is gonna be a different kind of video today. It's like the old days before that guy worked for me.
Before that guy?
Before that guy worked for me. All right, Phil's got work to do on a different edit, so we are doing things. Shut up. So we're gonna do things old style here, using my old Sony Handycam, where I am going to be doing some of the Inwin 928 stuff. You know what, guys? I got new merch. It's available now, crowdme.com/JayzTwoCents. We got zip-up hoodies, we got Tri-Blend, we got a new logo. I digress, since 2012. It's a Digress logo. You guys have been asking for that. Anyway, we got all kinds of stuff. Zip-up hoodies, beanies, polos. Don't take my word for it, because obviously I can't do this ad. So just look in the description below and you guys will find the link. Thanks. So as you can see right here, we've got the Inwin 928. And I'm sorry about the audio, guys. It's gonna sound kind of crappy, but this is literally how I used to do it back in the day. So we've got the Inwin 928 completely disassembled. We've got the motherboard tray back here. We got all the fans and stuff out because we're gonna be painting all these parts. Remember how I said the finish on here is terrible? How that's just fingernail right there. How the finish is so rough that just handling it, look at that. Look at the skins. I mean, that's just gross. Inwin, you make amazing stuff. Please fire whoever's doing all the coding for your stuff. Anyway, I digress. We are going to be putting the CPU block and the CPU in the motherboard. I was thinking about kind of marking where some of the pass-through fittings are gonna go. I am gonna be passing fittings through the motherboard tray like I did with Skunkworks. The problem is I'm not entirely ready to do that yet. So I'm gonna probably have to do it after the fact, which means I could take a chance of chipping and nicking the paint and then having to touch it up. But that's just a chance I think we're gonna have to take. The reason why I'm not doing it today, one, I don't have my step bit fitting with me. Actually, yes, I do. But two, I don't have the pass-through bulkheads, at least not all the ones that I need. And until it's all reassembled, I'm not sure exactly where everything's gonna have to go. So that's what we're gonna do today. In fact, I can take the motherboard out because I can put the CPU and stuff in there without it inside the case. But I do think that we're gonna have at least 2 tubes coming through the top right here and then into the CPU block. I kind of want it all to be separate, I think. But drilling anything before I know where I want the loop to be is just a bad idea. I'm telling you right now, one of the best things you can do if you have a build like this that has lots of parts you need to set aside, get yourself a big Tupperware tub like this so that you can set your parts in there and not go looking for them because you lost them later on. I've done this very thing many times, not the tub, but losing them. But I've lost so many small parts, especially screws and stuff, which is also why I have these magnetic tins when I'm working on things so that I don't lose the screws and make sure they're all nice and flat in there so they don't fall out. So these are all the screws from the teardown. Last thing I want to do is be losing these. So those are also going in there. So I gotta take the motherboard out and prep this because we are gonna be painting it. Painting, I've said a million times, is the simplest way to mod. It's one of the cheapest things you can do for modding. We painted those tubes in that last build, and I said before that I don't like the idea of painting tubes and stuff. It turned out so good. Clearly I was wrong about that. The other thing I did in preparation for this is I cut out all of the fan filters because these are on the exhaust. The air's coming up through this, so I don't want to block off the airflow for air to come out of the radiators and through the top. So I did that for both, actually that one didn't have filters. This one had filters. So I did that for both of the actual tops of where the radiators go. But you can see here's another perfect prime example of why I'm doing this paint. You see just how gross this gets? In fact, if you go and look at Inwin's own website, like their own video about the Inwin 928, there's grease all over it, there's fingerprints, there's fingernails, scratches, because literally I'm never gonna stop harping on this until they decide to upgrade their anodizing quality. It is the worst on the market. Some of the best design cases in terms of aesthetics and just being different, but the worst finish when it comes to the actual aluminum parts. Not the outside's amazing, the brushed aluminum part, but the chrome or the core, the main parts of the build, terrible. Now you can also see here on the motherboard tray how I've got multiple pieces still attached. That's because I don't want to necessarily take some of these pieces apart and get paint buildup and then where they won't go back together nearly as tight or as flush as they fit now. So because this piece, the bottom piece and all that are gonna be staying together, we're gonna get a nice even coat on all of it. and I can't get it to stand up. It is gonna cover up, like the paint is gonna cover up some of the screws and stuff, but I don't plan on taking this apart, like this particular piece. So I'm okay with that. So to prep it, we're just gonna be going through and kind of Scotch-Brighting. Yes, I'll take it out of the package, but we're just gonna be going through and Scotch-Brighting all of the surface to get off any of like the fingernail gunk and stuff that might actually be on there, and just give a better promotion for adhesion when it comes to the paint that's gonna be going on here. But once you do that though, you have to wipe it down because there's going to be, it's not gonna be able to pick it up on camera, but there are little fibers and stuff, you can sort of see it on my fingers right there, left behind. And for that, we're gonna be using that high pressure PC blower thing that I've had for a while. And then if we need to wipe it down, I've got these painting wipe cloths that are designed to sort of pick up all of that debris and loosen it off the surface. See, now I don't feel anything there. So that's what we have to do now to all these parts.
Transition.
Okay, so all the parts are prepped. They've been Scotch-Brighted, they've been wiped down and degreased and all that sort of stuff so that they're ready for paint. I love these gloves. These are the Venom steel rip-resistant gloves. I use them when working on computers where like finger oils and stuff like that. If you're gonna be painting or working with tubes and all that sort of stuff, you don't wanna get finger grease everywhere, use these. There's no talcum powder or anything. They are amazing. And since I'm gonna be painting, I don't wanna get all over my hands and stuff, I'm using these obviously for that very reason. But you can kind of see by looking at the finish, it looks a lot more matte now, I guess is the best way to put it. But now it's extremely smooth to the touch. Now if I rub my fingernail on it, it still transfers, but not nearly as bad as it used to. But it's still rough enough to where it's gonna give us a good promotion of adhesion promotion. Yeah, that's it. So I got some stuff on Amazon too that I'm gonna use for making a painting rack. Because the last thing I want to do is be painting this stuff and then putting it down like flat on a table or whatever, because then anything the paint touches, obviously, is going to stick to the table or cardboard box or whatever. And because I want this paint job to be as good as possible, it means that we need to make sure that we are doing it right. So I bought a couple of cheap, like $17 rolling clothes racks, like you would hang like shirts and jackets and stuff on, from Amazon. I went to Lowe's and I bought some of this. This is just solid 14 gauge wire. It's about 15 bucks for the roll. It's 50 feet worth. And I can use this wire to hang it. Yeah, there's cheaper wire you could find, but I didn't have anywhere nearby where I could go and get like just single strands of wire that were thinner than this, but this will fit through the screw holes so I can hang this from the rack. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that together. And if you guys wanna know links to that stuff, I'll put it down below if you guys wanna do something similar for your own painting setups. And then we're gonna be painting it outside like we've been painting everything else. So we basically just created like these little hooks and things. Same thing at an automotive shop where they're painting pieces, because you can get to it from all angles, and you wanna spray vertical rather than horizontal. Spraying down doesn't work as well. You can get big drops that come out of the can. This is the color that I'm going with right here. This is the Krylon Fusion all-in-one paint and primer. I was gonna consider using the engine enamel that I used before, although this is more of a gunmetal color than the black. And it turned out well, just not exactly like I liked. All right, so here's the way that they look with about 3 coats of paint on there. It's a very metallic-y finish. It's still got a lot of overspray on it, a lot of dust that has to be taken off. You can kind of hear the texture there on how rough it is. But I've already started wiping like down here off. But as you can see, the way it looks, it's much, see how it's not making that noise now because I've already sort of started smoothing it out. Okay, so slight change of plans. I've decided to go ahead and Scotch-Brite all of the parts because there was just too much of that metallic flake sitting on the surface. It's not like paint particles that you can sort of buff off. These are far too heavy and far too thick to do that. So I went ahead and used Scotch-Brite and made it nice and smooth, which means that now we are gonna have to prep this for a clear coat. I wasn't planning on doing a clear coat, but now I'm gonna have to, because clear is how you're gonna make the scratches and stuff. Like if you look in there, you can kind of see how there's marks and stuff. The Scotch-Brite also evens out the paint. You've got high spots, and what this will do is it will allow you to more easily make the paint even, which is what is gonna make the paint look terrible. If you've got high spots, low spots, high spots tend to be shinier because there's thicker paint, so it's more like wet looking. So yeah. All right, so it's actually the next day, and the reason for that is a couple of things have happened in between turning off the camera last. I told you guys I was gonna have to do the clear coat on there because of just keeping it nice and even. It's turned into a much bigger project than I think I ever wanted it to. Not to mention, one of the racks did fall over when I had all the parts on it because I wasn't thinking and I didn't put my sandbag on it, and the afternoon winds picked up and I heard a crash. Fortunately, the scuffs and chips and stuff on there, for the most part, are masked by the metallics, but there is some damage to some of the pieces. You can kind of sort of see there. So you can see some damage along the edges right there. You can see some right there on that edge. So I'm not too happy about that. But that's just what happens when you start rushing things. And of course, that is a lesson to be learned for everyone. So hopefully you guys were paying attention in class right there. So here's what we're gonna do today, because this is obviously, like I said, the next day. This paint needed time to dry and to cure. I've got about 3 coats of clear on it. Gloss clear, which means now I've taken on the responsibility of having to wet sand and smooth that out. Otherwise, it just looks like an orange peel mess. Fortunately, Phil will be able to help today with the filming, so at least you guys will be able to see some of that process. All right, so what I gotta do now is I've gotta basically wet sand all this stuff, and I've got some sanding blocks for that. I've got 1500 and 2000 grit. Now here's the thing. I'm not using automotive grade paint. This is never gonna be as good as a car. The orange peel is always going to be there to some degree. But here's one of the top plates I did right now in between takes. And this is freaking smooth. There's a little bit of orange peel, but there's a reflection. I can see Phil. Cars are so much easier because you have big flat surfaces. Even a curved surface is a flat surface compared to, say, this. And the problem is you take a sanding block to anywhere near these edges, you're gonna burn through the edges. You can see this one's actually already burned through slightly. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might have to put another coat on this and start over, I don't know. But anyway, here's what we're gonna do. We're still gonna move forward. If halfway through I don't like the way it's turning out, I'll just sand it all down again and start over. That's the cool thing about this project. There's no timeline. I can just take all the time in the world I want on it, and I'm not on anyone's schedule but mine. So with that said, let's start. So I was telling Phil off camera too, part of the problem is this paint that we're using. This is super thick compared to automotive paint. So that's why I'm going 1500 and 2000 grit instead of 2000 or 2500 and 3000 like you would on a car. The metallics in here are also super big versus what you'd find in a car. So that's why it's always gonna have like that slight bumpy ridge, because the metallics in this are huge, which is why I'm not 100% certain that I like the way this is turning out. So that's why I'm gonna just do a few pieces. If I don't like the way it's turning out, then I'm just gonna, like I said, sand it down, start over. It's the motherboard tray that matters most. The thing I have to remember here, most of this metal is not gonna be visible. Once the loop is in and the radiators are in and all the fittings and the motherboard is covering that tray and the reservoir and the pump, you're not gonna see a whole lot of this gray. This part I'm sanding is on the back. This part isn't even visible at all. I also know that I'm doing long streaks like this, like people would get mad at. Anyone that does proper wet sanding, you want cross hatch, so you go all one direction and you go all the 90 or 180 the other direction, or 90 the other direction. But this is not a car, so it's a computer, in case you forgot.
You wouldn't download a computer.
But you can still see all the metallics. And the metallics cause like those little ridges. It almost looks like dirt in the paint. So here's it, you can get a good idea of the size of the particles right here. I mean, look, these are just all the metallics, and listen to my finger. It's rougher than the sanding block. Feel the block.
Okay.
Feel that.
Oh yeah,
That's
totally
like,
is.
that's like,
what the heck?
That's like 120 grit.
Down in the library.
Phil and I can't unsee the emoji in there now.
It's like the power cord all over again. Come on, focus. Oh my God.
So I've decided to do the large piece right now, because if I can't get this to look like I want, then there's no point in continuing with the other pieces. I'm actually starting with 600 because it's really thick and built up on here. Like there's actually like friction. Well, duh, it's a sanding pad. But what I mean is like, it's not gliding. I don't need to be too crazy with it because the motherboard's gonna block most of this. It's here that's most important and here that you can see. It ain't perfect, but it's mine. Not bad for a rattle can job. Let's see how reflective it is outside.
Oh my God.
It's really not bad, dude. It's just rattle can job. And I was like, it looks so much better outside because we're getting even light, whereas in there, we're shining light directly at it. So if you can make it look good with the light shining at it, and you get it out here with even light, So this is roughly how the inside is going to end up looking. I knocked over the fan. This is turning out good. I need to do some more buffing right
I think
here.
I can see your face in it.
It's a little rough right there. I need to fix right there. But yeah, man, this is gonna look good actually. I think polished was the right move. Well, it's not perfect, but I've got over 7 hours worth of wet sanding and polishing here. It's good enough for me anyway. So now I've got to take all these parts and do the true challenge. Can I put it back together without scratching it real bad? It's like Jenga. All right, so I'm showing you guys what it looks like before I actually show Phil. I think it turned out pretty damn good. And with some of the accents in there already, like the water block and the ram, I think you'll kind of see my theme coming together here. So as you can see, that back panel looks so good. Same thing with the bottom down there. But obviously I'm going with a very blinged out theme. And that looks just phenomenal. I'm so happy with the way this turned out. But Phil hasn't seen it yet because he's actually been busy editing this video while we're making it, which is something we've never done before. We've never worked on an edit while we were still working on an edit. Yeah.
Is this for another video?
Stay
That's
tuned.
not going on me, right? No answer. Okay, great.
Phil is the kind of guy that if it sucks, he'll tell me it sucks. So don't think he's gonna kiss ass because I'm his boss.
I'm intentionally looking that way so I don't look at it
Wait,
until
keep
like...
walking closer, don't look at it, don't look about here.
Okay. Dude! Oh!
We finally found a use for the
Oh!
one.
Oh! Oh!
So our theme here is just because of this polished chamfered edge on this gunmetal, this brushed gunmetal exterior. So I went with the polished gunmetal metallic flake interior, and then we're gonna be doing small black accents like with the motherboard and stuff like that, and the blocks down here, and then chrome everything. But in terms of material that was used to get this effect, like I showed earlier, this is the Krylon Fusion all-in-one paint and primer, very heavy paint. That's because it's got primer in it as well as the metal flake plus the base coat. So that's why we couldn't get this completely orange peel free, but honestly the texture doesn't really show up that much. And then in terms of clear coat, I went with wheel paint. It's like I just stacked this job to be as hard as possible. The VHT wheel paint clear is a very thick and also again very orange peely, but I went with the thick stuff because I had to overcome the flake. And then when I polished it out, I just used the Meguiar's Ultimate compound. This is a cutting compound, so it also did some sanding while it was also buffing. And then you saw I was using my power buffer with a yellow pad, which is the coarsest pad, or the most correction to get out deep scratches and stuff, which is why I was able to make this not look terrible. Now this guy right here, this Sli Bridge, is a serious point of contention because it's the only non-shiny thing in here that's of that color spectrum, or the silver. Stay tuned to my next video where we've actually got a fun plan for this, thanks to, once again, one of my very smart followers who sent me a suggestion that we're going with. So you guys wanna see that, make sure you're subscribed so that you can see our next video, or 2 or 3, I don't know where it's gonna be in the lineup, but yeah, this is gonna turn out really, really good. Skunkworks is now Chumpworks. And I don't have a name for this one yet, so guys help me name it.
Not Chumpworks.